Chapter 3: The Siren Song of Mediocrity. Only those who will risk going too far can probably find out how far one can go. T.S. Eliot. Principle: Mediocrity doesn't just happen suddenly, it develops slowly over time. Every brilliant achievement begins with a hunch. It's a deep, ineffable knowledge that something great could happen, could be brought into existence, could change the status quo. It doesn't matter if it's the synthesis of string theory or flawless and innovative execution of this quarter's marketing strategy. All innovation begins as a subtle and intuitive flash in the nether regions of your mind. Perhaps, if you're aware enough to notice it, this insight takes hold and yields useful energy and enthusiasm as you imagine its potential. You entertain it for a while, considering its implications and thinking through how you might make it happen. But your enthusiasm quickly wanes as other forces begin to take hold of you. These are the forces that contribute to stagnancy and self-preservation. They can cause you to second-guess your intuition, become obsessed with the reasons the ideas would be too difficult to act upon, and inevitably compromise over time. That initial promising hunch fades into the mist, something replaced by a new one, but often lingering like a splinter in your mind that you can't quite shake. Why doesn't this happen? Why are so many discards idea, projects and opportunities tossed to the roadside, replaced by something easier, safer, and more imminent? Why do so many people start strongly and with such hope, but scrumps over time to the siren song of mediocrity? When we start our career, our exciting projects, everything new is new. We throw ourselves into the world with full vigor because we know that we need to prove our worth to our manager or clients. In some ways, it's like a new dating relationship. We put our best foot forward because we want to win the respect and approval of our potential partner. However, over time, familiarity sets in, and some of the aspects that once seemed new and exciting becomes predictable and mundane. The task we perform no longer stretches us, and some of them we can even do on autopilot. We've lost the thrill of the challenge. This dynamic is not only present early in our career, it's a cycle that we will go through many times as we take a new job, assume new responsibilities, and settle in for the ride. In each of these situations, we at first feel stretched by the new tasks in front of us, but we gradually adapt to expectations and develop the capacity to deal with them. This growth cycle is rapid and steep early in our career. When we are constantly facing unfamiliar challenges and in need of developing new skills to deal with them, However, we as progress in our career and accumulate more knowledge, there are fewer experiences that instinctively stagnant. Relying on our existing skills to perform our work, these skills may be sufficient and depending on how innately talented we are, may even earn us as earn us a great amount of respect in our industry. But deep down, we know that we are not doing our best work. We know that we are coasting with scumble to mediocrity. The downsides of success. I met Julie at a workshop. I led her for I I led for her design firm in her late 30s. Julie is near the top of her industry and by all accounts has nothing but a great future in front of her. In fact, most people in her field would give anything to have her opportunities and connections. She pulled me aside after the workshop and said that many of the dynamics that I would thought were things she would feel been feeling for a while but couldn't quite put a name to. She said that as she continued to be rewarded with promotions and new responsibilities, as well as industry-wide recognition, she would seek a feeling that she's been slipping into a kind of status for quite a while. I can't put my finger on it, but nothing feels right. I am still doing my work, but I don't get the same level of satisfaction I once did. I'm making progress, but I don't feel like I'm making important progress. Julie is not alone. I've had similar conversations with many remarkably gifted professionals. They know there's more inside them and they aspire to produce their best work, but it's like there's an invisible force holding them at bay and they feel trapped. Most of us begin our adult life full of hopes, aspirations, and dreams, and enough energy to tackle the challenges we face. We aspire to do great work, to make a mark on the world, and hopefully to find work that provides a sense of meaning and purpose. But then, as John Lennon noted, life happens while you're busy making other plans. With new opportunities comes more responsibility, including wonderful things like family, promotions, and more choices about your next steps. However, with more at stake, you can also begin to experience a fear of choosing poorly. The clarity you once experienced has become muddied by options, and you may start to hedge your bets or make trade-offs in the interest of safety. In the most extreme form, you can become paralyzed with inaction. You may exchange your aspiration for more practical ones, or ones that fits better with the expectations of others. A term championed in the 1950s by the professor, author, and researcher Herbert A. Simon captured the essence of this phenomenon, satisfying. It's the combination of the words satisfy and sufficient, and means selecting an option that is sufficient to meet enough of our ongoing expectation. Simone explained that when dealing with unlimited resources and an environment of uncertainty, satisfying is sometimes a reasonable approach because our limited resources prohibit us from pushing every possibility. Therefore, we settle for the best available option that meets most of our requirements. However, Simon himself warned that his strategy isn't always the best one to employ for personal decisions because there are too many non rational factors to be considered, and opportunities is not truly unlimited. When you satisfies the work but you secretly aspire to do remains inside you. It clogs up the inner working of your creative process and causes you to stagnate. You may even begin to lose your compass and overall sense of motivation. Maybe this isn't you. Maybe you're charging full stream ahead and feel great about your situation. You are forgetting into uncharted water and doing the best work of your life. Congratulations. However, I still encourage you to consider that most people who end up stuck were also once in your situation. And if you aren't attentive, you could fall prey to the very same dynamics as Julie did. Doing work that others admire but you don't know deep down isn't your best. No one charts a course for mediocrity. In 1999, the job search website Monster.com launched a brilliant ad during the Super Bowl called When I Grow Up. The ad feathered a series of kids sharing their dreams, only with a twist. When I grow up, I want to file all day long. I want to claw my way up to middle management, be replaced on a whim. I want to have a brown nose. I want to be a yes man. The ad finished by asking the simple question, what did you want to be? The subtext of the questions, of course, is that you didn't set out for any of these roles when you were young. So why do you settle for one now? Some would argue that the world is more complicated than this commercial suggests. After all, kids are completely unaware of things such as mortgages, organizational politics, and recessions. True, but the fact remains that many people who start out with promise end up settling along the way for something less. They may rationalize that it is because of external forces, but the reality is that many of them sold themselves out in small ways over time until they could no longer find a way back. No one charts a course for mediocrity, yet it's still a decision of choice. It's chosen in small ways over time, and those tiny, seemingly inconsequential decisions accumulate until they result in a state of crisis. By that point, making a change often feels overwhelming. Because please note that mediocrity doesn't mean doing poor work or failing to achieve success in your career. You can appear very successful to others, but know deep down that you're settling. At the same time, you might seem outwardly unimpressive to others, yet be maximizing your abilities. Mediocrity truly subject and relative. The key to avoiding this slippery slope isn't just to work harder or longer, it's to ensure that you are intentionally disrupting your own work rather than circling the wagons and protecting the ground you've already taken. The slope. The slippery slope. Mediocrity doesn't mean underperforming. It's a sliding scale and a state of mind. It means settling in and scrumping to status. Mediocrity comes from the Latin word medius, means middle, and ocres means ragged, mountains. Literally translated, it means to settle halfway to the summit of a difficult mountain. It's a compromise of abilities and potentials, a negotiation between the drive to excel and the biological urge to settle for the most comfortable option. When people begin to experience the lull of mediocrity, they often question whether they are in the right job. They wonder if there might be another one out there that would better suit them. And they might give them the thrill they once experienced before things went south. They may even act on that impulse, hoping to another job or company, and subsequently find that everything is better for a while. The news is back, and that craved for sense of challenge has returned, problem solved. Actually, no. In many of these situations, the job hopper is right back in crisis within a matter of months. It's not that there's anything wrong with their new job. It's because they change their external situation without changing their mindset and methods. They were trying to solve an internal problem by changing their external circumstances, which rarely works. You have to begin by finding enlightenment internally, then question your work environment. People who are successful over the long arc and who continue to produce in new and interesting ways after they are well established in their career refuse to allow circumstances to define their engagement. They continue to grow, develop new skills, and seek unanticipated opportunities to use their skills to create value. The waxing and waning of enthusiasm as for your work is actually somewhat predictable. There are distinct phases of growth that you pass through as you adapt to a new environment of matters or skills. These phases can be plotted along the learning curve, which is a presentation of the difficulty of learning a skill plotted along with the benefits of skill acquisitions. For example, adapting. The learning curve tends to look more like a typical S curve, which becomes easier to perform, followed by a slow leveling off. This is because complex skills and environment are nuanced and require a good amount of time to master, but the benefits of mastering them are substantial. This is why specialists in a highly complex field are typically well compensated. Acquiring new skills and adapting to complex, uncertain environment isn't easy, though it requires persistence, attention, near constant effort to maintain a trajectory of growth. As such, it's easy to grow tired or lose your drive. However, when you stop growing, you start dying in much the same way that an organization needs to be persistently innovative. In order to maintain market share, individual must make a personal commitment to lifelong personal innovation through skills development, risk-taking, and experimentation in order to avoid stagnation. The seeds of tomorrow's brilliance are planted in the soil of today's activity. Throughout the remaining chapters of this book, we will examine actions that you can Take today to unleash the great work inside you in a sustainable way. While there is no predictable formula for growth, there are uncertain practice and principles that can position you to stay ahead of the challenge you will face and help you remain up your progress up the rugged mountain you are climbing. This will require you to step back from your work frequently to examine not just what you are doing, but how and why you are doing it. Even if you've heard of of some some of the practices before, don't allow that to dissuade you from implementing them. It is action that creates impact, not knowledge alone. Remember, there are three kinds of work that you must be persistently engaged in to be effective: mapping, making, and mashing. In my work with individual and organization, I've witnessed several key areas where mediocrity repeatedly creeps in and causes neglect of one of these three kinds of work, leading to ineffectiveness because they are such common and destructive slipping point. I call them the seven deadly sins of mediocrity. To make them easier to remember, I've also named and organized them alphabetically: A, B, C, D, E, F, G.